7 years had passed since Abigail stood before the starlit mural at Abigail's Grace, her fingers tracing the vibrant strokes painted by the children she had sworn to protect. The small Nigerian town that once whispered her name in sorrow now echoed it in reverence. At 28, Abigail was no longer the frightened girl who fled a mansion of cruelty or the broken teenager saved from a mob's wrath. She was a woman of unshakable resolve, her braided hair kissed with a few silver strands from the weight of her past, her eyes a blend of fierce determination and boundless compassion. Abigail's Grace had grown into a beacon of hope, its network spanning Nigeria, from the chaotic markets of Lagos to the serene villages of Enugu, from the oil-rich streets of Port Harcourt to the bustling capital of Abuja. Centers named after children she had saved, Esther's Haven, Daniel's Refuge, Grace's Sanctuary, Ngozi's Hope, stood as testaments to her belief that every child deserved a home, a future, a name. The original center in her hometown was now a sprawling campus, its courtyard alive with the chatter of children, the scent of egusi soup wafting from the kitchen, and the hum of activity from classrooms, a computer lab, a medical clinic, and a playground where swings creaked under joyful weight. Abigail moved through the space with quiet authority, her presence a balm to those around her. She knelt beside a boy named Chike, helping him tie the laces of his new school shoes, her smile a silent vow that he was seen, valued, and safe. But beneath her strength, the echoes of her past lingered. Faint scars crisscrossed her arms, remnants of beatings in the mansion and the mob's violence. Deeper still were the invisible wounds, nightmares of the forest where she was abandoned at 2, the suffocating smell of fuel as a tire was forced around her neck, the cold silence of a house where she was treated as less than human. She had learned to carry these memories gently, letting them fuel her mission rather than chain her. Richard and Philomena, now in their early 60s, were her unwavering pillars. Their faces, etched with lines of wisdom and pride, glowed as they watched their daughter reshape the world. Philomena, once a figure of icy distance, now radiated warmth, her hands busy knitting blankets for the children or stirring pots of yam porridge in the center's kitchen. Richard, ever the quiet strength, managed the network's finances, his meticulous spreadsheets ensuring every donation stretched far. Johnson and Susanna, who had once traded Abigail for a sack of rice, had become family in every sense. Their catering business thrived, supplying meals to the centers, and Susanna's laughter as she taught children to roll chin-chin dough was a melody that warmed the air. Johnson built desks and swings, his calloused hands steady with purpose, a far cry from the desperate man who once sharpened a machete under a fading sun. Mama Amina, now frail but spirited, led beadwork workshops, her stories of the forest weaving hope into the children's hearts. Esther, at 20, was a nursing student, running health clinics at the center, her confidence a living testament to Abigail's influence. One humid afternoon, as Abigail sat in her office reviewing grant applications, a package arrived, wrapped in coarse brown paper and sealed with a wax stamp bearing a snake emblem. Her heart stuttered, the image a chilling echo of the red cap and scarred hands described by Mama Amina, the man who had abandoned her in the forest 26 years ago. Inside was an invitation from the Global Child Welfare Summit in Cape Town, South Africa, urging Abigail to deliver a keynote speech. The letter praised Abigail's Grace as a model for the world, offering a plane ticket and a note, "Your story is a light in the darkness. Bring it to us." But tucked inside was a smaller, handwritten slip, unsigned, with the same snake emblem: "Some truths should stay buried, or they will burn." Abigail's hands trembled, her mind racing to Isa's confession and the Order of the Red Fong, the cult that had nearly claimed her life. The threat was clear, but so was her resolve. That evening, she gathered her family, Richard, Philomena, Johnson, Susanna, Mama Amina, and Esther, in the center's meeting room, the embroidered cloth with silver stars draped over her chair, the wooden carving from Ease on the table. "They want me to speak in Cape Town," she said, her voice steady but her eyes searching their faces. "But this emblem, it's the order. They're still out there, and they're watching." Philomena's face paled, her hand gripping Richard's tightly. "You don't have to go," she said, her voice quivering. "You've done enough, Abigail." Richard shook his head, his gaze firm. You've faced worse than threats. If they're scared, it means you're winning. Johnson, usually reserved, spoke up, his voice thick. You saved us when we were lost. You can face this. Susanna nodded, tears glistening. You're our daughter, in every way. Go shine. Esther squeezed her hand, her eyes bright. We'll keep the center running. You've taught us how. Abigail contacted Mr. Okoye, the retired investigator who had uncovered Isa's role in her past. His voice was gruff but warm over the phone. That emblem's no coincidence, he said. I've heard whispers of the Order's revival, hiding behind fake charities in East Africa. I'll dig deeper, but be careful in Cape Town. They don't like being exposed. Abigail nodded, her heart pounding but her mind clear. She would face this, just as she had faced every other trial: hunger, fear, betrayal, and fire. In Cape Town, the summit was a vibrant mosaic of voices: activists from Ethiopia, survivors from Uganda, policymakers from across the continent, all united to protect children. Abigail's speech was scheduled for the final day, giving her time to attend workshops and connect with others. She met Lerato, a 16-year-old South African girl who had escaped a trafficking ring after being sold by her uncle to settle a debt. Lerato's eyes, wide and wary, mirrored Abigail's own at 13, scrubbing floors in a mansion. I saw your story on YouTube, Lerato whispered during a break, clutching a worn bracelet. It made me believe I could be more than my pain. Abigail hugged her, tears welling. You already are, she said. Let's find your future together. She began mentoring Lerato, helping her enroll in a vocational program for tailoring, their bond a reflection of Abigail's own journey from despair to purpose. But the snake emblem haunted her. At a summit workshop, she noticed a woman in a tailored suit, her badge identifying her as Dr. Nia Nkosi, director of a charity called Bright Futures. A brooch on her lapel bore the snake emblem, and her gaze lingered on Abigail with an intensity that sent a chill down her spine. Abigail's instincts screamed danger, but she kept her composure, focusing on her speech preparation. That night, in her hotel room, she found a note slipped under her door: "Stop digging, or the children you love will pay." The snake emblem was stamped at the bottom, its curves menacing. Fear gripped her, but so did defiance. She called Mr. Okoye, who confirmed Bright Futures was a front for the Order, exploiting children under the guise of aid. They're powerful, Abigail, he warned. They've got connections in high places. Get evidence if you can, but don't take risks alone. Abigail promised to be cautious, her mind racing with plans. The day of her keynote speech arrived, and the auditorium was packed, the air buzzing with anticipation. Abigail stepped onto the stage, the embroidered cloth draped over her shoulders, the wooden carving in her pocket a talisman of her resilience. I was sold for a bag of rice, she began, her voice steady, filling the room like a tide. I was abandoned in a forest, beaten by a mob, broken by a world that forgot me. But I was never truly lost. Every child deserves to be found, to be loved, to be home. She shared her journey, from the thorns of the forest to the mob's fury, from the founding of Abigail's Grace to this global stage, her words weaving a tapestry of pain, triumph, and hope. The darkness tried to claim me, but I chose light. Let's choose light for every child, no matter how far they've fallen. The audience rose, tears streaming, Lerato clapping fiercely from the front row. Even Dr. Nia, seated in the back, watched with a tight smile, her eyes unreadable. After the speech, Abigail approached Dr. Nia, her heart pounding but her face calm. I know what Bright Futures is, she said quietly, her voice steady. I know about the Order, and I'm not afraid. Dr. Nia's smile didn't waver, but her eyes hardened. You're playing a dangerous game, Abigail, she replied, her voice low. Some secrets are worth more than your centers. Walk away, or you'll lose everything. She turned and left, her heels clicking on the marble floor, leaving Abigail shaken but resolute. Over the next days, Abigail worked discreetly with Lorato, who had overheard Bright Future's recruiters in her township promising families aid in exchange for their children. Together, they gathered evidence, recordings of meetings, photos of children sorting goods in hidden warehouses, testimonies from parents who had been deceived. Abigail sent the files to Mr. Okoye, who coordinated with Interpol. The raid on Bright Futures was swift and decisive. Interpol stormed their offices in Cape Town, freeing dozens of children and arresting Dr. Nia and her associates. Among the evidence was a ledger linking Bright Futures to the Order of the Red Fawn, revealing their network stretched across Africa, exploiting children for profit under the guise of charity. Dr. Nia, in custody, confessed to Abigail's past connection. Her family's wealth had made her a target for a ritual meant to secure power, orchestrated by a faction led by her uncle, who had vanished after the failed sacrifice. The revelation shook Abigail to her core. Her own blood had betrayed her, yet she had survived. The last piece of her past was laid bare, and with it, a weight lifted from her heart. Back in Nigeria, Abigail returned to a hero's welcome. The children at Abigail's Grace greeted her with a banner painted with stars, their voices singing a song they had written for her. Philomena hugged her tightly, whispering, "You're unstoppable, my daughter." Richard, his eyes misty, added, "You've changed the world." Johnson and Susanna, their faces glowing with pride, presented her with a cake shaped like a star, a symbol of her legacy. Mama Amina, her hands trembling with age, gave her a new beaded necklace, its pattern matching the stars on the embroidered cloth. Esther, now a nursing student, organized a health fair for the children, her confidence a mirror of Abigail's own. But the victory over Bright Futures was only the beginning. The Order's collapse exposed a broader network of corruption, including local officials who had turned a blind eye to child exploitation. Abigail faced a new challenge, a legal battle to protect her centers from political backlash. A powerful politician, Chief Adebayo, accused Abigail's Grace of mismanaging funds, a ploy to discredit her and seize the center's land for development. The accusation hit the news, stirring doubt in the community. Abigail's heart sank, but she rallied her team. "We've faced worse," she told them. "We'll fight with truth." She hired a lawyer, Ms. Chioma, a fierce advocate for child rights, and together they built a case, presenting transparent records of the center's finances and testimonies from families who had been helped. Abigail spoke at community meetings, her voice unwavering. "They want to take this land, but it belongs to our children," she said. "Help us protect it." The town rallied, with traders like Obinna, once a skeptic, leading protests outside the council office. Mama Joy, whose shop Abigail had once stolen from, organized a petition, collecting thousands of signatures. The children, led by Esther, painted signs reading, "Save Abigail's Grace," their small voices echoing through the streets. The court case was grueling, with Chief Adebayo's lawyers twisting Abigail's past against her. "A girl sold for rice cannot be trusted with millions," one sneered. Abigail stood tall, her eyes locked on the judge. "I was sold, but I was never worthless," she said. "Every child here proves that." The judge, moved by her words and the overwhelming evidence, ruled in favor of Abigail's Grace, dismissing the charges and fining Chief Adebayo for defamation. The victory was a turning point, cementing the center's place in the community and silencing its critics. Amid the chaos, Abigail's personal life was blossoming. She had grown close to Tund, a teacher at the center who had lost his sister to trafficking. His quiet strength and shared passion for helping children broke through Abigail's walls. One evening, under the mango tree where Mama Amina had first shared her story, Tund took her hand. "I want to build a life with you," he said, his voice soft but certain. Abigail hesitated, her past making trust a fragile thing, but his eyes held a promise she couldn't deny. "I'm ready," she whispered, and they kissed, the stars above mirroring the ones on her cloth. They married in a vibrant ceremony at the center, the courtyard filled with children, volunteers, and family: Richard, Philomena, Johnson, Susanna, Mama Amina, Esther, and even Mr. Okoye, who toasted to their future. The years that followed were a crescendo of impact. Abigail's Grace became a global model, with centers opening in Kenya, South Africa, Ghana, and Ethiopia. Abigail advised governments on child welfare, her voice shaping laws to protect the vulnerable. She and Tund welcomed a daughter, named Hope, whose laughter filled their home, a small house near the center adorned with star-shaped lanterns. Richard and Philomena, now retired, traveled with Abigail to open new centers, their pride in her boundless. Johnson and Susanna mentored young entrepreneurs, their catering business a community staple. Mama Amina wrote a book of folktales inspired by Abigail's journey, its pages filled with stories of resilience. Esther became a doctor, running the network's clinics with a quiet strength. Lorato, now a tailor in Cape Town, sent Abigail a dress embroidered with stars, writing, "You showed me I could shine." One day, a letter arrived from Ngozi, the girl Abigail had saved from bright futures. Now a law student, she wrote, "You gave me a future. I'm fighting for others like us." Abigail wept, the letter a testament to her legacy. Another letter came from Aisha, the Somali girl from the Nairobi summit, who had founded a shelter called Abigail's Light. "You taught me to be more," she wrote. Abigail framed both letters, hanging them beside the mural at the center. The final chapter came on a quiet evening, as Abigail stood before the mural, now weathered but glowing under the moonlight. She held the wooden carving from ease and the embroidered cloth, symbols of a past she had reclaimed. Richard and Philomena joined her, their hands on her shoulders. "You've done it, Abigail," Philomena said, her voice thick with tears. "You've turned pain into purpose." Richard nodded, his eyes glistening. "You've made us whole." Abigail smiled, tears falling. "I was lost," she said, "but I was always meant to be found. And so is every child." Abigail announced her final act, the Starlight Legacy Foundation, a global fund to support child welfare, ensuring her work would endure. She passed the leadership of Abigail's Grace to Esther, who had grown into a leader as fierce as Abigail herself. As Abigail walked through the center one last time, children ran to her, their laughter a symphony of hope. Hope, her daughter, toddled beside her, clutching a tiny star-shaped toy. The town, once marked by her tragedy, now shone with her triumph. Abigail's story, born from a bag of rice, forged in pain, and sealed in love, became a legacy that would light the world for generations. Abigail's journey proves that from the darkest beginnings, a radiant legacy can grow. Share this story, like, comment, and subscribe for more tales of hope. Every child matters, and together, we can light the way. Thank you for joining this journey.